Welcome back to another video. Today we're diving into a story that stirs both nostalgia and reverence, one that centers around a name synonymous with timeless beauty, elegance, and cinematic greatness. Sophia Loren, known not only for her unforgettable performances on the silver screen but also for her striking presence and poise, Loren has long held the world's attention. But beyond the glamorous red carpets and iconic movie roles lies a chapter of her life that often reemerges with both fascination and curiosity. Vintage photographs from her early career that reflect a different era of Hollywood, one where bold artistic expression, classic aesthetics, and the fine line between allure and art came together. Among these are the famous topless photos that surface from time to time, sparking conversation, admiration, and let's be honest, a lot of people quickly checking their surroundings before taking a peek. But let's take a step back. These photos are not just about a moment of exposure, they are a piece of film history, a reflection of a young actress navigating fame in a time when the world was rapidly changing. Sophia Loren, born in 1934 in Rome, Italy, rose from poverty in post-war Naples to international stardom. Her journey is one of strength, determination, and grace under pressure. By the 1950s and 60s, she had already captivated audiences with her deep eyes, commanding presence, and undeniable talent. She was a muse for filmmakers and photographers alike, and like many actresses of the era, found herself in situations where visual artistry blended with boldness. The images in question, often circulated under hushed tones or guilty curiosity, are actually part of the broader story of how European cinema viewed the human form, not through a lens of exploitation, but one of expression, natural beauty, and artistic storytelling. In fact, many of these iconic photos were shot early in her career before she became a household name in the US, and were intended for European publications, where attitudes towards such imagery were more liberal and rooted in aesthetic appreciation. It's important to remember that Sophia Loren was never someone who allowed herself to be reduced to mere imagery. Every frame she appeared in carried emotion, power, and self-awareness. Whether she was playing a struggling mother in a war-torn country, a fiery Italian lover, or a comedic star opposite Cary Grant or Marcello Mastroianni, Loren brought depth to every role. Her ability to command attention didn't depend on appearance alone, it stemmed from charisma, intelligence, and immense skill. The fact that her vintage photos still circulate today and spark headlines like "Make sure you're alone before looking" speaks volumes about her lasting impact. People are not just looking at images, they're peering into a moment in cinematic and cultural history. These photos are carefully composed, often bathed in soft light, highlighting the classic beauty of the 50s and 60s film photography style. There's a certain mystery to them, a feeling that you're catching a glimpse of something not scandalous, but rare and unforgettable. And yet, in today's world where content moves quickly and boundaries are blurred, the allure of such vintage imagery lies partly in its restraint. Compared to the digital flood of modern-day celebrity photos, often overshared and overexposed, Sophia Loren's images remain rooted in a time where glamour had mystery and fame still felt untouchable. It's why people might instinctively make sure they're alone, not out of shame, but because they want to experience the moment privately, without distraction, perhaps even with a sense of respect. Sophia Loren herself has always approached the topic of her early photos with class. She's never shied away from acknowledging them, but she's also never allowed them to define her. For her, they were a part of her growth as an actress and an individual, taken in an era that allowed more room for artistic exploration. Throughout her life, she's remained a strong advocate for women's autonomy, dignity, and power, qualities that only enhance the way people see those photos today. In many ways, looking back at Sophia Loren's vintage photography is like opening a time capsule. It reminds us of an era when film stars were crafted with care, when every detail, pose, lighting, costume was curated to evoke emotion rather than simply gain clicks. It's less about the image itself and more about what it represents. An icon at the dawn of her journey, unafraid to take risks, destined to become one of the most respected actresses in film history. So, yes, Maybe make sure you're alone before you scroll through those vintage images, not because there's anything inappropriate, but because they deserve your undivided attention. In a world saturated with fleeting trends, Sophia Loren remains a monument to timeless elegance, fierce talent, and the enduring power of cinema. Her story and every photo that captures a piece of it isn't about scandal. It's about legacy. And that's something worth pausing for, even if just for a moment.